Hey everybody, it's your girl Nell, and welcome to the Wednesday episode of Simply Nell's Tiny Studio. Thank you so much for being a subscriber to the channel. Thank you for being a Tiny Studio Lounge member. And also, just thank you so much for just hanging around me and just wanting to come into the Tiny Studio to, see what I'm up to. I am in the Tiny Studio, as you can see. I am sipping on some tea that the Tiny Studio assistant has made me today. It's delicious. It tastes like um it tastes like hibiscus. But I'm not sure, so I'll have to ask her when I see her exactly what it is. But it tastes like hibiscus um tea. So that's delicious. I love it. It's great for your blood pressure. It's great for cleaning your blood. All the things hibiscus flowers are really, really great for. And I have my painting smock on today, so I will be painting a little bit later. I started a new project that I'll share with you soon. So I started working on that project maybe about 2 days ago, and so I'm really excited about it. So I'll let you see it later. I'll let you see it soon. Anyhow, what else is going on with Nell in the Tiny Studio? Well, I am going to be crocheting today. And no, my crochet mojo is not back. I can't find it anywhere. Where is my crochet mojo? I have no idea. But I still need to finish my grandmother's blanket. And we will be heading to the D in the early part of October. So I have I have 3 months to finish it. So here is, just in case for some of you who do not know what I'm talking about, I am creating a granny quilt like lapghan for my grandmother. And it's based off of the Mississippi quilts that my great grandmother made way back in the day that my grandmother owns right now. And I saw one the last time I was in the deep, which was in June, but I didn't get a chance to take pictures of it for my own reference, and I didn't get a chance to really, take pictures so I could let you guys see it because it's a treasure. I love that quilt so very much, and because it was made by my great grandmother's hands, so I decided that I wanted to make something inspired by that quilt, and this is it right here. And I am calling it the Granny Quilt Granny Quilt Lapghan. And this is it so far. It's not finished yet. I still have about, I want to say I have about, maybe, if I work on it, I should be finished with it in October. By the time by the time the plane touches down in the D at Metro Airport, I should be finished with this. That's what I would like to tell myself. However, I lost my crochet mojo. I haven't been inspired to crochet, and right now I'm just, doing the best that I possibly can. I just ordered some more yarn, and in my particular pattern that I absolutely love called Pettiforts Galore. Yes, that's at Hobby Lobby, the sugar wheel, one of the sugar wheel colorways. And so I just love that. I just love it so much. So I'm hoping that once the yarn arrives, the crochet mojo will hit me upside the head, and I'll be, good to go. But we'll see. We'll see. But I'm really loving this. I'm really loving it so much, and I think that she'll love it as well. Um, I have a bag full of granny squares that I need to sew into this lapghan. And I guesstimated that it's going to take maybe about 88 crochet or granny square tiles to go ahead and complete this project. So right now I think these little bundles that I created, I think these bundles, which have 11 squares within them, I think I have about 66 or something of them, and they're around here somewhere because I'm looking right now. I only see 2, and then here's a bundle that I was working on maybe a couple of weeks ago. So today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working on some more. I'm going to be working on some more crochet, some more granny squares, and hopefully I will be able to have enough. I really do need to start adding these to the lapghan and not, continue to play around like I am. But the reason why I haven't is because I wanted to go ahead and weave in all the ends of the blanket that I been working on, well, that I have so far. So as you see, there are a lot of ends. And what I don't want is to complete the entire project and then see all of these ends and, be like, I don't think I want to continue with this. I don't want that to be me. So maybe about a month ago, I started weaving in the ends. So there are 2 completed rows of ends that I went ahead and I wove in. But that still leaves me with how many more rows? 1, 2, 3, 4. I still have 5 rows with 6 granny squares in each row. So that's 30. So I still have 30 granny square ends to weave in. But I need to just go ahead and get it out the way, and then as I continue, weave in the ends as I go along, which was what I was supposed to do, but I was so excited to put the granny squares together to form the quilt lapghan that I kind of lost my way. But anywho, this is the granny quilt, and I'm so excited to finish it. I'm so excited to see what it's going to look like at the end, and I'm really excited to see my grandmother's expression when she sees it. I already told her it's coming, and it was supposed to be a surprise, but I kind of let the cat out the bag when I was over visiting with her, because she had this amazing crochet quilt on her bed. It was just simply amazing, and she told me she had it for about 30 years. And I'm like, not 30 years. Where have I been? But she said it was in storage, and then recently she started, putting it on her bed. And the funny thing is, in the guest bedroom, it was there, but I never really paid any attention to it. Because my grandmother, she's a designer, and she's a wonderful artist in her own right. And, she has, a wealth of, a lot of different things in her home. And, crochet blankets, quilts, things like that. she's just a really artistic person. So it's so much I really, as you know, growing up, I just took it for granted. But now that I'm coming into my own as, you know, a designer and artist, and my, you know, my artist eye is awakened, I've noticed certain things in her home, and I'm like, I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, I really like that. Has that always been there? When it's always been there, but in just my mind's eye, I wasn't paying attention. So the crochet blanket that she has on her bed right now is just so beautiful. She said it was a gift to her from one of her employers' sisters, and it is just gorgeous. And I meant to take a picture of it so you could see it, but the next time I see it again, I will definitely take a picture of it. So today I am going to be crocheting and, just yakking with you, just yakking and talking. Where are my snippers? Oh, okay, I have to put that back up. Make sure I have get my snippers out. So I was able to finally get my workbench for my crochet with Nell videos. I think I told you about that the other day. I was looking for a really good work board to put everything on because, I have really sharp scissors, and I have several different pairs of very sharp scissors, and I needed a work board where I could just lay everything out and then not be afraid, not be afraid of damaging my actual work table. So I found something to go on top of it. The first time I ordered it, it was the wrong size, and then my son had to measure my work table, and this time we got it right. So let me see if I can pull it up for you. Okay, so this is my new workbench. It's actually a cutting board, but as you see, you can do many different things with it. It's a sewing board or a quilting board. You can do a lot of different things with it. And so I will be using it on my table. So when you see the different tutorials that are coming up, you are going to see this board as well. So I'm excited about that. And that's a big thing. That's a big thing. And all of my supplies and different things that I'm working with for my bracelets, all of that has come in. So I'm excited to be able to show you those things. So you will be seeing a lot here in the Tiny Studio. I'm coming up on I want to say my third season of Simply Nell's Tiny Studio. So I'm excited to see the changes that are happening here. That are happening over time here in the Tiny Studio. What else is happening? Oh, before I forget, today is a very landmark day in Black history. And you may say, what are you talking about, Nell? Well, today, or on this day in 1965, the Voting Rights Act was signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson. And that bill that turned into law guaranteed African Americans rights to vote. Now you may say, well, what does that exactly mean? Everyone has the right to vote. How does this act really benefit African Americans? Well, the point is that in the South and in many places, but predominantly in the South, African Americans were threatened and very much discouraged from voting. And sometimes a lot of African Americans would find themselves perilously threatened with even making the intention of voting public. Even here where I live at today in Florida, there were a number of incidents where African Americans were literally lynched and their towns burnt to the ground because of, wanting to vote, actually going to the courthouse to vote. Um, Throughout the years after um, emancipation, um, Southern governments made it more than difficult to vote if you were African American. There was such a thing as the poll tax, where you had to pay astronomical amount in order to vote. Or there used to be tests that were given to African Americans only. And if they passed the test, then they could vote. But 9 times out of 10, many African Americans couldn't read. So that became a problem. There were a lot of restrictions placed upon African Americans when it came to voting. So the 1965 Voting Acts bill that became a law was very significant in ensuring and enshrining the rights of African Americans to be able to go to the voting polls and to voice their opinion. One thing that I do want to say is that at this time, voting rights for African Americans, the Voting Rights Act, and a lot of different other bills that were passed into law, a lot of those bills have been threatened. A lot of them have been, Trump has created a flurry of executive orders which have more times than not extinguished the things and the rights that African Americans have enjoyed and gained within the past 60 years. Hey, honey. I was just saying that, today was the day that the Voting Rights Act was passed into law and that Lyndon B. Johnson signed on this day in 1965. Wow. I thought that was significant because 5 days later, you were born. Yeah. Good times. Mm-hmm. And so having 60 years of the Voting Rights Act, and then to be at a point where those rights are being threatened, it's just, it's really sad. It's really sad. I wrote down some statistics for you that I thought were very interesting. In the 2024 election, 59.6% of African Americans voted in that election, which was a little bit less than the amount of African Americans who voted in the 2020 election. In 2020, over 62.6% of African Americans voted in that election. So when you have a situation where 88 million Americans did not vote, and then you have that going on, 88 million Americans did not vote in the 2024 elections. And then you have 59.6% of African Americans actually voted in that particular election. You have to ask yourself, have we forgotten all of the things that our grandparents and great grandparents went through to assure that to ensure the right to be able to go to the voting booth to say, well, this is how we would like our local, state, and federal government to be ran. Those are questions that we have to ask ourselves. Have we taken voting for granted as African Americans? Because we've only been really seriously voting or being able to vote for 60 years. That's really not a long time. As I said, my husband was born 5 days after the Voting Rights Act passed into law. So it really has not been a long time at all. Not really. Not really when you consider that white men have been voting in this country since its inception. White women have been voting since when? 1920? 1920 or 21? Don't hold me to that. Do your own research. But when you really think about it, white women have been voting, I have the right to vote for over 100 years at this point. And black people, we've only been voting for 60. So those are some things that we have to think about. How serious do we take it? Do you take voting seriously? I do. I've been voting since 2000. So, it's all about what you feel is important in your life. I know a lot of people sit back and say, oh, I don't vote because, well, here's the thing. You use or utilize a lot of services in this country, in your city, within your state or federally. You utilize a lot of services that would not be in place had not a person like me voted for it. So, or a person like your neighbor voted on it. There are a lot of ordinances in your city, in your township, that took effect because of citizens in your neighborhood, because of your neighbors taking the time out to become activists and to write their local congressman, councilman, mayor, and to be able to put legislation into place where people can vote for it in order for it to become a law and to be a benefit to you. Such as, let's say, there are ordinances today that affect everyone, such as stopping at all railroad crossings. That's an important ordinance that people had to vote on. Neighbors had to sit back and say, hey, I'm tired of, all of these fatalities happening on the railroad tracks. I'm sick of that happening. Let's do something about it. And so people get together, they put together petitions, they take it to their local congressperson, and the next thing you know, it's put on to, a ballot, and you vote on it, and then boom, there you go. There are a lot of things that we take for granted today that would not be in place if you did not vote, if people did not vote. And to actually see that in the 2024 election, 62.6% of African Americans voted, but in the 2024 election, only 59.6% did. It's almost as if Black America did not realize that there was an existential threat on the horizon. And now we are living in the era of where we have to we're basically reaping what we sow. Because if you did not sow the seeds of understanding and really honoring and respecting the memory of the people who worked so hard to get that voting rights bill passed, if you have not acquired the respect for that, then what we're reaping today is the harvest of that disrespect. The harvest of the disrespect. And it's really, really sad because a lot of the things that 34-time convicted felon, formerly 45, now the 47th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, a lot of the things that he's doing has really hurt Black people to the core, has really hurt us. And a lot of YouTubers, Black YouTubers who call themselves activists, which I call them phony activists, I call them couch activists, the disservice that they did a lot of people, especially in the generations of Z and Alpha, it's just deplorable. telling young people not to vote, telling young people, oh, you know what, the Democratic Party doesn't serve anyone. It really doesn't serve Black interests. That was not the point of the election. The election was to preserve democracy. That's what the election is about. And if you did not see that, if you didn't understand that concept, then shame on you. Because here we are where there is no democracy. We're living in a totally authoritarian state. I mean, like I said in another video, shutting down public television, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, shutting that down, cutting the funding. All that is going to do is put stress on public television. And you need public television. The thing that Trump is doing right now, he has his tentacles in everything, from entertainment to sports. And that's the hallmark of a real dictator, of a real authoritarian, when he can sit back and tell you, this is what I like and this is what I think, how I think things should go. Such as what he said a couple of weeks ago about the Washington Commanders and how they should change their name back to the Washington Redskins, and then saying that he would think about pulling funding for the Washington Commanders stadium if they don't change their name back. That's an authoritarian. That's having your tentacles in everything. Okay, what does he have to do with that? He's supposed to be looking over the country, the federal aspects of the country, but instead he's over here involving himself in private businesses, telling the Cleveland Browns or the Cleveland baseball team that they need to change their name back to the Cleveland Indians, or else. It's just, it's ridiculous. He has his tentacles, was trying to place his tentacles in anything and everything. He was probably behind the firing of Steve Colbert a couple of weeks ago. More than likely, yes. Because the way CBS is moving today, instead of fighting that lawsuit that he brought against 60 Minutes, they decided to acquiesce and just pay him the $16 million. Okay, because they had a merger going on or happening. And if they had not paid him off, then since since Trump is controlling the FCC, then this merger probably would not have happened. See what I mean by having tentacles everywhere? That's what I'm talking about. That's what he's doing. So it's sad. But when you decide that, hey, I want to listen to other people instead of doing my own research and finding out what's best for me and for my family, or what's best for me and my community, then you set things up to, you set a series of things in motion where it becomes a hazard to everyone involved. That's what not voting is. Not voting is or becomes a hazard to everyone. And I know a lot of people who decide, oh, I'm not going to vote because, religiously, I'm supposed to be neutral. It comes a time where you have to take a stand for something or fall for anything. I think Malcolm X said that. You have to take a stand for something. You can't always be on the fence or claim neutrality on everything. You just can't. Because certain issues affect you too. It affects your bottom line. It affects your wallet. It affects the way you raise your family, take care of your kids. It affects your place of employment. It affects all of that. So do we really have the luxury of saying that we're going to remain neutral? And I'm saying this for a lot of religions. I'm not just talking about one. I'm talking about a lot of different religions practice, oh, we're not going to be neutral. Yeah, but when the 2020 COVID came around, and a lot of these religious institutions receive money, receive money and food from the government, how was that able to occur or take place? It happened because of voting. It happened because of the people that American voters put into place in Washington, passed a bill or legislation for emergency relief for Americans. So everybody who didn't vote still benefited. I really think that people should reassess their decisions, because I had to reassess mine. I had to reassess mine. And I watched my grandfather vote. Voting was very important to him. Okay, my grandmother, I don't think she's ever voted. She was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. By the time I came around, she was a JW, so I don't think I've ever seen her vote. But for my grandfather, voting was very important. Very important to him. And so he did. He voted. Voting was important to my great grandfather. It was very important to him. Okay, I just finished my first square. Um, he wasn't into politics. He didn't talk about politics a lot, but he did vote. Voting was important. My parents, I don't think my parents have ever voted. And as I said, I didn't vote until 2000. I voted in Gore, the Gore Bush election. I just felt it was important for me to vote, because what I didn't want was George Bush. I felt like we already had enough of the Bush White House. We didn't need to have part two, which is exactly what we ended up having. And then which got us a whole war. Not only that, a war that lasted for almost 20 years, by the way. It led us to the fiasco that happened with 9/11. There's so many things that happened then. And I just want to say, more than likely, it's because of the fact, not just for the crazy stuff that was happening down here in Florida with the whole, with the vote, with the election and the votes and the recount and stuff, but it's also because still a lot of black people didn't show up to the polls. A lot of people did not get out the vote, and so that's where we stood. We got Bush. I also want to say that at the time when this whole vote recount thing was happening, we had Florida was in play, and George Bush's brother was the governor. And I just said, Pam Bondi was over there. It was just so many things happening that took place. I really feel that if black people had got out and voted, in 2000, perhaps some of the junk that we found ourselves in for the next 8 years would not have taken place. And that's just my opinion. But we can all argue history, but the name of the game is to not repeat it. And unfortunately, that's where we are today, where we are not only repeating history, we are regurgitating history. Seriously, regurgitating history. We're not just repeating it, we're regurgitating it because we didn't learn anything. We did not learn, or maybe because we did not pay attention, or we became cocky and we began to say, oh, that happened then, that couldn't happen here, that couldn't happen to us. We are more evolved, when that's a really cocky way to think, because yes, it can happen to us. Yes, we can find ourselves in a situation where, instead of going forward, we're going backwards in time. That instead of us making strides and really securing democracy for our children and for their children, we go back in time and place ourselves in a situation where now democracy is in peril. Where now we're in a spot where we have an authoritarian leader. A lot of rights that I enjoyed as a young African American girl, my daughters will not get the luxury of enjoying. At least not in the state of Florida. Those are the things that bother me about this government today, what we're living under today. And my ancestors lived through it. They lived through worse and survived it. So I guess that's going to have to be my lot too. I'm going to have to survive it the best that I can. And the only way we can do that is together. Get our communities together. Start talking to your family. Talk to your kids. Talk to your siblings. Find out what their plans are. Find out ways where you can assist your elderly loved ones. That's my plan. Get yourself a passport. Get yourself a passport while passports are available. Because if you recall, back in World War II, at certain points, the German government stopped issuing passports. So if you didn't have a passport, you could not get out of the country. You were basically trapped. So work on that. If you don't already have your passport, work on getting one. Find out how much it costs to get a passport in your state. That's what my husband and I are working on. We're telling our children, get your passports. We're going to be getting our passports in a couple of weeks. That's our plan. Get yourself a passport. You never know when you may need it. And even if you don't, I want to travel. My son is going to, he travels a lot. He's going to Mexico with his girlfriend in a couple of weeks. But you can't go there if you don't have a passport. If you want to go to Jamaica, you got a passport. My goal is really, I would like to visit Ghana, Senegal, Nigeria, South Africa, Nairobi, the Ivory Coast, Gambia. Did I always say the Gambia? I want to visit those places. So I need my passport. And I would like to visit those places within the next few years. So I need the passport. Because eventually I would like to, I would like to live as a nomad. I would like to, be on the road and travel and, you know, conduct my business, being in different places and spaces. And that's what I would like to do. Explore. I think that when you explore the world, you become an observer of the people. You become more aware. You become more open minded. You develop a world view. I should have timed myself. I don't know how long it took me. It would take me to complete a granny square. I've done that before where I've actually timed myself. I think it takes me about 5 minutes or so to make a granny square. I think talking to you is taking me about, I want to say about 10 minutes. I think I actually, started out with a square. I think that I did. Did I? No, I didn't. I started that out with this. Uh, that's what I started out. But that's what's going on in the tiny studio right now. I'm crocheting, and I'm crocheting with a purpose. It's not with a passion, it's with a purpose. So that's what's happening right now. I see that it's a little late. I didn't realize it was getting that late. But I am going to hop off the line. And I enjoy spending time with you today. I hope you enjoy spending time with me. And I'm going to hop off the line, and it's a little bit after 4. I think it's about almost 4:30. So I'm going to put dinner on because the hubby is here, and he's been getting off work a little early. So I'm going to go ahead and put some dinner on and talk to him and chat it up and see how his day was. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. To my tiny studio members only lounge members, members only lounge members. To my tiny studio members only loungers. Watch for a video for this month coming up tomorrow. I will see you guys in the Tiny Studio Lounge. It's members only. If you would like to become a sustainable member of the channel, I will provide the link in the description box. Okay, so I am out of here. Thank you so much to all my new supporters. Thank you for your engagement. Please don't forget to hit the like button, and I will see you guys next time in the Tiny Studio. Bye-bye.